What exactly is the problem with casual relationships, and how are you supposed to find the person you need to be with without having them?
Well, I think, how about abortion? That's a problem. And so it's a minefield, obviously, any discussion of abortion. But one thing I can say about abortion that I think would generate no objection is you wouldn't give one to your sister for a present. Right. So whatever it is, it's not desirable. And how not desirable it is at minimum open to question. So I don't think there's any such thing as a casual sexual relationship. I don't believe that. I've never seen any evidence that that's the case. I think that there are people rationalize that constantly because they want to believe that short-term hedonistic gratification is ethically acceptable. And I don't think it is. I think that it trains you to treat yourself and other people as instrumental objects of short-term pleasure, obviously. Mm-hmm. Well, is that how you want to train yourself? How's that going to work you going to have a long-term relationship at some point? How are you going to train yourself for that? Okay, so having said that, and then, how carefully should we conduct ourselves in sexual matters? I would say, well, as carefully as you conduct yourself in any matter of importance. And that stretches all the way up to the top, whatever the top is. You're going to treat the other person as if they're a divine locus of consciousness or a disposable pornographic entity. Well, those are the borders. Okay, but then you say, well, you have to practice. And there's truth in that. And how do you practice? And the answer is, well, that's one of the central complications of life, right? To get the balance between individual action and the whole domain of sexuality and reproduction right is perhaps there's no more difficult question, especially once you've solved the question of, do you have enough to eat tomorrow? Mm-hmm. That would be the next one that pops up. Mm-hmm. But I don't think there is such a thing as casual sex. I think that's indistinguishable from masturbation, which I also don't regard as a particularly heroic act. And so, well,
T-shirts, masturbation, right. Not a particularly
heroic
act.
And I think people have that sense, and I don't think that that's culturally instantiated, because in some sense we've done everything we can to eradicate every last vestige of sexual shame, which I think in the final analysis is impossible, because there are all sorts of reasons for the persistence of sexual shame that have nothing to do with cultural context. And still, it's a furtive and underground activity. And the reason for that is because it's suboptimal for all sorts of reasons. Well, how much motivation does a young man need to overcome his fear of rejection and establish a relationship with a woman? And the answer to that is, we don't know, but sexual deprivation could easily be part of it. Because to do something difficult, you need a lot of motivation. You need frustration working for you. You need fear working for you. You need lust working for you. You need loneliness working for you. To bind a man and woman together, especially if they're going to produce children, this is a very, very difficult thing to do successfully. And so anything that interferes with that is to be viewed with extreme skepticism. And that's undoubtedly part of the reason that shame around hedonistic sexual activities remains a constant, despite our best attempts to eradicate it.
I think I would also say, just from my experience growing up, especially in university, it's not like it's seen on the outside, having casual sexual relationships, as this fun thing. Mm-hmm. It's not fun.
No.
And nobody thinks it's fun, especially women. So if you're around other girls and they're like, oh yeah, I hooked up with this guy. None of you guys are actually enjoying that.
Yeah.
Right? And I think that's a lie that women tell each other.
Yeah. Why?
I think because they think other people don't care. And because if you do it, it makes you feel bad enough that you're like, well, I don't want to look at that. Whatever's going on there, like maybe me feeling bad is not healthy.
Right.
Like I'm not, and
it means there's something wrong with you.
Yeah, or there's something wrong with you, right? And so it's like, and it's unpleasant enough that you're like, well, I'll just, keep going. It's already happened. There's nothing I can do about it. So it might as well be okay, because what am I going to do about it if it's not okay?
Yeah.
So then, and I think this is pretty common for women in university to hook up with people, right? It's called hookup culture. There's Tinder, like it happens. But I like for anybody out there who's thinking maybe I don't want to do that, it's not fun. It doesn't make you feel good. It's really makes you really lonely, right? It's not a good idea.
Why do you think it makes you lonely?
I think because what you're looking for is a connection with somebody. And you're getting this physical connection and you're not getting any emotional connection. And it's
right, and then there's the contradiction. It's a terrible contradiction.
Yeah, and
right?
it's...
Well, here's an interesting thing I used to tell my clients is, don't do anything with anyone sexually that you wouldn't talk to them about.